early in my career, I was up in Georgia, and I went on a seminar. It was a one-day seminar. I went up to Macon, Georgia, and it was, it was kind of the first time I really had reached out. I went with other business guys, and we had, I forget who was giving the seminar, but the topic was this: measure what you're doing. And I thought, well, what do you mean? So what we did is we started talking about what we measured. For instance, in our company, we measured about 13 different things when I sold it. We were measuring things like what the salary was, how many within the salary, how many hours of that was overtime, how many was straight time, what were the hours, where did we measured what time of the day we had most of our sales. We had a call center, so we made sure we managed the call center around when people call. Well, if you didn't measure, how would you know? You just say, so people who don't measure sometimes are spending money in areas that they don't have to spend money in. So we would measure that. We'd measure how quick we turned you around. When we said, and a lot of times we had one is, we had you in and out in 45 minutes or less. And if we didn't do that, you got $20. Measuring became, and I can remember one of the examples they used was McDonald's. McDonald's knew within their period, or the time they're open, from 9 to 10, they not only knew how many hamburgers they sold from 9 to 10, they knew the exact, to the penny, how much money was generated that hour. And usually businesses, measure, well, today I did X amount of dollars. They measured it hourly. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is that an overkill? Well, in today's times with everything digital, the computer, you can measure so many things that make you could overdo it, needless to say. But measurements have huge success. I had one where I took my eyes off something I used to measure, and that was how many white wall tires I was selling. I thought, well, that ain't a big deal. I went through the year and didn't measure them, and I realized my white wall sales I was selling half the number that I did the previous year. The problem was I was still stocking as many as I did in the good year. If I'd have been measuring, I'd slowly moved out of that, and it's things like that. Payroll was the same way. When people would ask, what's your payroll, I could tell them even right up to the end, as a company, what we spent on payroll. Our payroll invariably was 10 to 20% less than our competition because we measured. When did you need people working? Things of that sort. So we would do that with just about within our sales breakdown. How many were tires? How were passenger tires? How many were truck tires? Or light, we use the word truck, but really pickup tires. And by measuring that, and then how many were the good ones? We had the good, better, best. Each one of those we'd measured, and we got it down to the point that we realized something which was I figured out just by watching the numbers. If my step process, if I sold 20 of the first tier, the cheaper tires, I should expect to sell 10 of the next one. And then half that again, 5 of the premium. And I would look through, and if that wasn't happening, I had my prices out of order. I was either charging too much, those numbers, and it was a pricing mechanism. But we did that by measuring. And it would tell you that. So if something was getting out of, just the customer quit buying, things like that, you didn't have to wait too long. You wanted a quick measurement that says, hey, something's changed. Sometimes it was caused by the way we dealt with the customer. Other times it wasn't needed any longer. So measurements is a huge thing, and every great company does a lot of that, but it's not talked about. But I can tell you, and then you want it that you could see it on a regular basis, and in a well-run company, all the employees are aware of this. They know within their store, within their cost center, profit center, how many of these are moving and what's it like against a year ago. So you're basing it, you're doing comparisons constantly with your measurements. So that's, we would have never had the good fortune we had if we hadn't had a good measurement system. But what became apparent after a while was how many people I needed to man the call center, and that would depend on the number of calls coming in. And so we started measuring, and of course you can get it in a software system now that tells you how many calls are happening by the hour. And so we would open a call center with one person in the first hour, and by the middle of the day we might have 5. But if we'd have had 5 from the beginning of the day all the way through, it would have been a huge waste of money. So we would do our scheduling, and if we hadn't had good measurements, we wouldn't have been able to properly manage the call center. The call center too was such an important part of our success, I feel, because just questions. It wasn't selling over the phone. A lot of people take that call centers to sell. We took the approach, which gets off track here a little bit, was to explain our hours, our pricing, just answer questions. But when that phone call came and you didn't want people, you sometimes get on some of these deals. When I applied for Social Security a few years ago, I spent most of the day being on hold, trying to talk to the government workers out there. I'm not trying to pick on them, but I mean, if I'd have done that in free enterprise system, that I would have hurt my business, not helped it. In business, at least in the retail business, service business, the number one expense you have is payroll. That being said, the more you could manage that, the better job you could do in controlling it, if you will. And so we would measure regular time, overtime, time they started, time they stopped, what days. Some days were more than others. We were open 6 days a week. We always had to have ample employees, but without measuring, it was very easy to be short-handed some days and too many on other days versus we knew what days it was. And then was by certain monitoring this, how many hours was an ample deal. We watched overtime. We didn't feel that people could make the kind of money they needed to do to pay their bills without some overtime. What was an ample amount of overtime to do this? And by measuring, we'd find if it got a little shy, you'd end up pretty soon you got grumbling going on. I'm not making the kind of money that I would like to. And you could have still kept them with another hour or 2 of overtime. That was a measurement concept. So we would constantly try to watch all parts of the payroll. And then in the measurement, of course, which is a side issue, trying to find out from other people in our industry how they were handling it and what was a good number. And we prided ourselves that our payroll was lean, but our employees were well paid, but we had no one on the payroll that wasn't necessary.